Good afternoon and welcome, children of God, to this most holy celebration on the canonization of Pope John XXIII and Pope John Paul II, now known as St. John XXIII, St. John Paul II. This ceremony takes place on the unceded traditional territory of the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam First Nation. Over 300 years ago, you would not be sitting in chairs in this building. You'd be sitting in the forest. This is a young city. But the Squamish people lived in places called Stanley Park, in Kitsilano, False Creek, and now they live on the North Shore. The Tsleil-Waututh live in the Deep Cove area, Indian Arm, North Vancouver. And the Musqueam live at the mouth of the Fraser River. When we say thank you, we hold up our hands. Can you hold up your hands? We hold up our hands to the indigenous people who lived on this land for many generations and thank them for letting us speak our words and hold our ceremony here at the Pacific Coliseum today. And if you want to say thank you as a group, we say Chenkwan Mantomi. One more time. Yes. Beautiful. Some of us up here on the stage, and probably some of you here in the audience, we went to Rome in 2012 for the beatification of Blessed Catherine Tekakwitha, now St. Catherine Tekakwitha. And when I was in that St. Peter's Square, and there were 7 canonizations at the time, so we were there for a while, but it was beautiful weather. And they pronounced her name, St. Catherine Tekakwitha. There were a lot of First Nations people there, and there's a lot of Canadians there. Canadians are pretty loud at canonizations. But I was thinking, as I was sitting there in St. Peter's Square, that I am really lucky to be Catholic, to be celebrating there in St. Peter's Square. And it's a nice place.
the young Turk who had attempted to assassinate him. It was on December 27, 1983, 2 years after the attempt on May 13, 1981. The Pope John Paul II had gone to pay a visit to his would-be assassin in the Roman prison of Rebibbia. A personal meeting of 15 minutes took place. Leaning towards each other, the man who had used violence and the man who had suffered from violence, they looked and listened with love to each other. Once the meeting ended, the Pope went to visit some 200 women detained in the same prison and shared with them that he had experienced in the encounter with Ali Achka. He said to those 200 women, "We met as men and as brothers, because we are all brothers, and all the events of our lives must lead to fraternity." I have always been struck by this episode and witness. John Paul II teaches us that all life experiences, even the most painful, lead us to fraternity. It is not true, says the Pope now saint, it is not true that discord and hatred can only generate more discord and more hatred. No, the evil that unfortunately lives within the human heart can be stopped. It is enough to allow mercy to work within us. Mercy, which is the gift of the crucified and risen Lord. The gift that enables us to overcome evil with good, to transform enmity into friendship, and therefore to increase fraternity within human family. Let us, St. Paul John Paul II, to be we also instrument of mercy here among all our brothers and sisters in Vancouver, in Canada, all over the world. And now a few words to finish on St. Pope John the 23rd today. Pope John the 23rd. What can I say about him? He who had been affectionately called Il Papa Buono, the good Pope, had a secret. He was faithful to a resolution made since he was a young priest to transform into an opportunity for goodness every situation in life, thanks to the power of prayer and charity. He pledged to keep from all bitterness, to avoid anger and personal outbursts, to have for all a happy and smiling patience. He made as his own the aspiration taken from the Gospel. Jesus, meek and humble of heart, make my heart like unto thine. Belonging to a family of humble and modest farmers, he knew that it was precisely the meek and gentle that Jesus promised would inherit the earth. Yes, in the end, it is neither violence nor arrogance, but goodness, the spirit of kindness, gentleness and peace that conquers hearts. Of all of these things, Pope John Saint Pope John XXIII is a living example. Lord, help us to be instrument of peace and mercy. Help us to give and to receive pardon. Help us to see in others, to see the others not as strangers, but as brothers and sisters, perhaps different, but always brothers and sisters, and to work together to build the civilization of love. Then we will rejoice. Then all of us, like the disciples, when they saw the Lord, will experience joy, the true joy. Amen. Alleluia.
I can't mention them all, but it's truly, today's been a wonderful sign of the life and vitality of the church, that we have two new saints. One saint who 30 years ago sat in this very cathedral, which of course was made for John Paul II during his visit here to our city. Let us today commend especially a culture of vocation to the new saints, that everyone discover the will of God in his or her own life, that there be abundant and good and fruitful marriages, and many young men and women who accept the call to the consecrated life and to the priesthood. We place that particularly under the patronage of John Paul II, now the secondary patron of our archdiocese. I thank all of you, really from the bottom of my heart, for coming, for celebrating, but mostly for being a faithful people of God.